Hey guys, glad you could join us again today. We've been looking at communication over the last several weeks, and today we're going to wrap that up. And so, with it being Thanksgiving week, I am expressing thanks for all you guys that check this out, but also just the thanks I've had from friends that have helped me along the way in ministry, especially with this and the topic of communication we've been looking forward. I'm grateful for them and thankful for their insight to this. And so, kicking off today, we were looking at communication again and just a little bit of advice from a buddy of mine named James. And James is a pastor, and I appreciate the way James thinks. He is a deep thinker. He looks at things the way and can draw out things that I would struggle to do. And so I really appreciate that. So if I need honest advice or feedback, he's my go-to. And so with this, he looks at a couple different things, and he gives kind of some tips for communicating with one another, for conversations, really. So whether it's parents, it's you're talking to your students, or students you're talking with your parents, or parent to parent, student to student. It's this is just good for all of us. So one is this. He says starting a conversation is important. So knowing how to start a conversation. He goes on to tell me. He said most people are introverted and need help getting started. Be bold and make the first move. And my buddy James, he is way more bold than I am. I'm a borderline introvert extrovert. Always have been. I can assert myself in the situation if I need to, but if I don't need to, I won't. And that's how I work. It's how I'm wired, and how the Lord has directed me, and just kind of heed the Holy Spirit's pushing, if you will, in instances. But he's exactly right. There are times that, especially meeting somebody new or not knowing a lot of information about it, and I run into this all the time with students. We may get a student visiting, or a student's just transitioned up into the youth group, and so I know then that's the Lord has given me just the insight to say I've whether it's just getting their name, where they go to school, what they like, making them feel welcome. That's a starting point. But starting a conversation is definitely important. And there's books on it. You can probably listen to the podcast all about how to do that. But entering a conversation, just know that sometimes somebody just needs a little push to get going, and then you can find out if they're a conversationalist or not. But two, he says to ask questions. He says, but ask questions about things you observe and know about. And he gives the instance of, and this is more kind of in the adult realm, but in the instance of asking about if he gives in somebody having surgery coming up. Well, I hear you're going in to have the surgery. Who's the doctor doing it? Oh yeah, I know them. They're great. They got a great reputation. People want to be known or seen and feel important. And when we can do that, we bring comfort and ask questions that are important to them, or what you can pick up on as important to them. I go back to, I was serving a church one time and had a student that rarely said anything, not just to me, to anybody. I remember having conversations with their parents, and they said, well, they're like that at home. You got to kind of pry answers out of them. And I can remember going and visiting them at the school one day, and just sitting and talking with some of the kids in our group, and this student was there, and just being real quiet, tending to themselves, and something came up about a video game. Well, we were talking about video games, and man, it lit a fire under them, and they just came alive and were talking. And from that point on, I knew that was important to them. And regardless of what it is, it gave me an opportunity to speak to their life. And we need to look for that with people. So it's important to ask questions and know what people's interests are, and know where they are in life, and what we can talk to them about. So be bold is James's first word of encouragement, but also be aware of what's important, and speak to that. And you may not can relate to it directly, but don't be afraid to seek after that and see where the Lord guides your conversation. The third one, and I like this, Now, listen, I think I've expressed before, I love a good quality conversation. If we can sit and talk, and I can talk for hours about this, but at the same time, conversations don't have to be long. They can be ongoing. I can see you this week and we can talk about one athletic team, and I can pick back up next week when I see you, or the next week after that. We can have ongoing conversations about this or that. And the way technology is today, you can start a conversation face to face, and you can text back and forth about it, or even call them, and continue that conversation. Or what I tend to do, and a lot of my friends to do, we'll be talking about a topic, and then we'll shoot each other an article about that topic, or a meme or something like that. So it's an ongoing conversation. So don't feel like you've got to get tied down to a 20 or 30-minute conversation. Now, granted, if both of y'all are wired that way, do it. Sit down, enjoy the quality time and the quality conversation that's involved in that. That's the older I get, that's the way I am. I'll sit down and talk about the Bible with you, or sports, or your grandkids, or whatever it is. I've just gotten to where I enjoy doing that and the interaction between the people, and I'm thankful for that. And the fourth thing James encourages us to do, and I say James, not the book of James, but my friend James, work on believing the person has intrinsic value as a human and is worth your time. He goes on to say we need to believe that. We need to believe that, and it's okay. We also need to be okay with expecting the person to bear some responsibility with continuing the conversation. So it's not just on us. It's they're connected with it. They have a piece of that as well. But he gives an example of, it's not your fault if people don't chat back or make an effort. It's not a reflection on you. But just be gracious with that conversation. And that person may not be geared up right then for expecting to get into a deep or semi-deep conversation. I'm not saying that every conversation needs to be small talk. I don't believe that at all, because then we're not really scratching the surface. We're not getting to know anybody. You don't know what's going on in people's lives. But knowing and picking up on how to carry that conversation from a hello, how are you doing today? How's your mama and them, to something else. Okay. And when he gave me this list, I just got to thinking and reading in scripture, and this verse just popped out to me, and it's Colossians 4:6, and it reads this way, Colossians 4:6, let your speech always be with grace, as though seasoned with salt, so that you will know how you should respond to each person. And that's it. And that comes just from spending time with people, getting to know people, getting to know about their lives, their needs, their desires, their wants, their hurts, what their goals are, their aspirations in life. Those are some of the building blocks for good quality conversation. And in that too, I had another friend in our group that reached out, and I want to kind of wrap up and leave with this. If you see this meme right here, it breaks down good quality conversation in a nutshell. And if you don't know this movie, it is The Princess Bride, which in my opinion is one of the greatest modern day movies in my lifetime anyway. But it says how to be good at talking. Number 1, polite greeting. Number 2, state your name. Number 3, a relevant personal link to that person. And number 4, manage expectations to where he says, hello, my name is Amigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. And saying that lightly, because if you've seen the movie, you understand the humor in the movie as well. So, but that's good. And that's really some good advice. And that comes from my friend Richard. And so it's just be polite, tell them who you are, connect with them, and let them know where this conversation's going in a nutshell. So it's good, and we can joke around about that as well. But let me encourage you, just moms and dads, especially students, as I encourage you to have conversations with each other, whether it's at the dinner table. Hopefully that's a great place to be, or riding in the car from school to practice or school to home. Be intentional, make time. Make time to have those conversations, whether it's sitting on your back porch, or whatever it may be. Maybe it is purposefully planning a day to where moms and dads, you take your children and you go and you just focus on them all day, pouring into them and hearing what they have to say. Just let me encourage you to do that. And really, right now, around Thanksgiving, when family is near and dear to our minds and on our hearts, let us be thankful for those people God has placed in our life, whether it's a child or whether it's our parents or just great, good friends that God has opened up a door for you to have a relationship with. And so I pray that we can be those kind of people. And then as we talk, we speak with grace, just as Colossians instructs us here, that we can speak with grace, we knowing what to say, that we would lean on the Lord for those words to say and not just let our speech be filled with empty things. So I pray that we can be faithful to do that. And happy Thanksgiving.